So my mission with Excel Ace was to make people love spreadsheets, to show them how ace spreadsheets can be. I hated people feeling uncomfortable with them because I just know how brilliant they were. And I thought, just to show people a few pointers, this is why it does this is why it does that. And it can make such a difference to people.
On this episode of Spill the Tea with LLIB, we have the wonderful Traci Williams.
So Traci, can you share with our listeners more about your business and the unique aspect that sets it apart?
Sure. I started my business, Excel Ace, in 2008. So I'm actually 16 now.
Well done.
I know. I never thought it'd do 12 months, but I started the business. So what I do, I work with Excel spreadsheets. I just love spreadsheets. Like genuinely love them. People think I'm a bit weird. There's not many people who do love them like I do, but there are people around. I'm not alone.
Is there a special group?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've just all been to Liverpool for the weekend.
Really?
Yeah, we had a great time. Anyway, so my background's in accountancy, and in every job that I had, every proper job, I always had to use spreadsheets, and at first I was useless, but I learnt to use them, and I learnt to challenge them. And if I was doing something that was long-winded or felt like it was taking ages, I'd go to Google or I'd pick the brains of somebody in the office and say, how do you do this? Is there a quicker way? Or show me this. And eventually I became that person in the office that everybody would come to when they got stuck with the spreadsheet, because there's always one, isn't there?
Yeah, always me.
So I became that person. And I loved spreadsheets because they're just so logical. They just do whatever you ask them to, and they can do it pretty much anything apart from make tea. So apparently somebody's cracked that, but that's another story. Yeah. So I became the person in the office people would come to when they were stuck, but it wasn't my job to show them how to use spreadsheets. So I'd always have to give them like a quick answer and cobble something together for them. And then it would break. And then they'd be like, oh, these spreadsheets are awful. And it used to really pain me that they didn't love them like I did. And that they hated them. They were like, oh, these spreadsheets keep breaking. But I didn't have the time to show them properly.
Yeah, so it wasn't their fault.
Yeah, it wasn't the spreadsheet's fault. It's because you haven't shown how to do it properly, that's all. And weirdly, nobody ever gets formal training for Excel.
No.
You just assume to know it. Everyone puts it on the CV. Oh, I can use Excel and Word and Outlook and stuff. But can you really?
No.
How would you really use it?
No.
So I realised that people weren't shown how to use them properly, and therefore that's why they didn't love them. That was all. So in 2008, packed up my job and I thought, right, I am going to start an Excel business and show people how to use the spreadsheets better. That was the plan. And I look back now and I think, oh, I didn't know half the stuff I know now. How did I have the audacity?
Yeah.
But I've learned, I keep learning constantly. So my mission with Excel Ace was to make people love spreadsheets, to show them how ace spreadsheets can be. So that's why I started the business, with the intention of not even doing training as such, but working as a consultancy. So just going into a business, looking at the spreadsheet and going, oh, you could do it like this and you could change this, and helping them that way. And as I started doing that, and then I would change something up and then have to show them how I'd done it and how they'd then manage it going forward. And people really liked my training style. So that's how kind of then I started doing training as well, which is brilliant. It's so rewarding. I do love that.
Wow, so you can be trained in how to be an Excel ace
yourself.
Wow, I definitely need that training. My sum knowledge is probably being able to do a couple of basic formulas with that equals sum bracket.
Amazing, well done.
And I can add a column together, and then if it tells me it's wrong, I'm like, oh God, I'm that person. Now I've broken it. It's rubbish. Pen and paper it is.
And that's exactly why I started the business, because I hated people feeling uncomfortable with them because I just know how brilliant they were. And I thought, just to show people a few pointers, this is why it does this is why it does that, that they're away, and it can make such a difference to people. Because a lot of people, even now they will say, oh, if I must do a spreadsheet, I just panic, or, I have to go into this spreadsheet that we always use and it terrifies me in case I break it. And I think it's criminal, because they're not that hard. I can do them. So it can't be that hard.
Yeah. I do think there's probably a massive piece in education that we're missing there as well, back in schools. And I think there's probably that same piece that because teachers don't necessarily have the skill to be able to teach it well enough, that it's not passed on to our children and young people, and then there is this real gap in knowledge moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a misconception that spreadsheets are all about numbers and it's all about, maths and it's about finance. And it's actually not. You don't even need to put numbers into a spreadsheet, weirdly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh God, I didn't know that actually.
So what type of businesses do you support then? What businesses would be best for a spreadsheet? Like, can it be smaller businesses, large businesses?
Every business. There's no distinction, to be fair. Where I learned to use spreadsheets, I worked at Unilever, which is a global organisation, and they had purpose-built systems to deal with what they needed to, but we'd still extract into Excel to do what we need to do to manipulate things. And I remember thinking then, if a company this size is using spreadsheets, then the one-man band is going to need to use spreadsheets. Absolutely. As multi-level organisations. So there's no limit really to who can use them.
And is it just finance? Is it just like working out, like what we said before, profit loss, things like that? Like
No.
what else can you use Excel for?
Oh, anything. Use them for like quantitative information. So so when I do Excel training, I ask for feedback. So I'll get feedback forms, and that can all, so the answers to questions, literal text comments, can all go into a spreadsheet.
You do love your spreadsheet?
I do, absolutely. And I think years ago, when I've done a lot of networking over the years, and people used to think I was putting this on, this excitement level, this passion, and you couldn't put it on for 16 years. Not like this.
No. What's the strangest thing yourself personally? Maybe I'm thinking like Christmas or something that you've ever used an Excel sheet for, like maybe family, friends, anything like that.
It was actually a client came to me, and it was a book of remembrance.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
So they were using Word.
Yes,
Dirty Word.
But you would for like text, I would think that was
But you can't have, so they would literally in Word have a separate page for the letter A, because that was the A page. Then they'd have a letter B, and then they had to manually insert, because he couldn't do sort. Couldn't sort it alphabetically. So I was like, give that to me. Let's pop that into a spreadsheet. So literally we had one great big sheet with all the names. And then I think we used pivot tables where we selected the letter. There's lots of different ways you could do it, but it generated each individual sheet for each letter and put the names in alphabetically. So going forward, if you then popped in a new name at the bottom of the list, it would automatically appear on the relevant sheet. And then they just printed out the 26 letters in the alphabet. They'd print out all the sheets, job done. So it just made it easier.
Wow. And who doesn't want their business to be easier?
Yeah.
So do you just come in like an Excel like wizard with a wand and then go, right, what are you currently doing?
Yes.
And then you say, so this is now the new way.
Yeah. So businesses will bring me in and I'll say, show me your spreadsheets. I'm like Lloyd Grossman of spreadsheets, basically. Who lives in a spreadsheet like this. So I'll go and have a look at a process or what somebody's using, whether it's in Excel or whether it's not. And I'll literally look at it and go, oh, well, you need to use this formula there, or if we pulled this in, if we put pivot table, or if we did formulas, or we might need to use in Power Query these days. It's a big new amazing thing. But I've done this for so long now that I can literally just look at a process and just instinctively know that it would work better with this structure or this process, and then I can work with the business and train and support them in making the changes, or I can take it away, do it for them, and then just deliver it back, which is the preference for a lot of clients. And I use a lot of VBA and macros. So I will literally take a spreadsheet back and it's just buttons. So literally just press buttons and then everything's colour coded because I'm obsessed with colours. Just because it's easier, isn't it?
Yeah.
So any cells you can edit, they're green.
Yeah.
So now I can go back to the client and say, on the green cells, put the details in on the green cells, and I'll lock and hide everything else so you can't physically enter something where you're not allowed to enter something. So I almost make them robust so that they can't enter something that's going to break the process.
Yeah.
They can't, if they're supposed to enter a date, it'll be formatted so you have to enter a date.
Yeah.
And it won't let you put anything else in, so therefore you can't break it. Yay.
Foolproof.
Yes. Yeah.
Idiot proof.
Yeah.
That's my type of spreadsheet. Yeah.
Have you always been this organised in this, like your journey, like into business? Have you always, as a child, teenager, like have you always liked to be as organised as a spreadsheet?
I think so. I think as well, I always wanted to have my own business. And in fact, when I was 11, I had my own business.
Wow.
It was called Traci's Cakes.
Ah.
And I used to spend the whole summer holidays baking cakes and little fairy cakes, and they'd go into the freezer, and then on a Saturday night we'd get them all out, and my mum would help me ice and decorate the cakes because she was better at decorating than I was. And then on a Sunday morning she'd take me to the local car boot sale and I'd sell all these cakes. And she even taught me how to do absorption costing, so ABC, activity-based costing, sorry. So she'd help me to work out from a bag of flour how many cakes I could get out of a bag of flour and how much it would cost, and therefore how much I had to sell the cakes for. So we worked out all this, not on a spreadsheet when I was 11, mind. I don't think they were invented then. In fact, they were. I was 5 when they were invented. But then I'd sell all these cakes, and then I'd work out what I need to buy for next week's cake run. And then my mum would drive me to Asda. She wasn't allowed to come in. I had to do it by myself.
Wow.
I'd go and buy all the shopping and then come back and start the process of baking the cakes. So I always wanted, I think, to have a business, and I was interested in all that kind of stuff. But then I fell into accountancy, kind of by accident, really. And I discovered spreadsheets, and I think it was a good few years in. I think, so I probably sort of 10 years working in accountancy until I really discovered that these spreadsheets were really useful, and I'd become really good at them. I say really good, I thought I was then. I know better now. So that's when, and at that point I'm thinking, can you even start a business with spreadsheets?
Yeah.
Is there a business to be had?
Such
How does that work? And I knew nothing. And I look back now and I think, I actually wrote a business plan, which is cringy if you read it. I think I was going to make some flyers up and literally put them through businesses. I think that was my plan. Never did. I didn't even know networking existed. I think I found a company on the internet, and I paid them £300 to do me a 5-page website and a logo, which is pretty similar to the logo I've got today. It's been refreshed over the years, obviously. But yeah, I didn't really know what I was doing. And then thankfully it's kind of gone the right way.
Very right way.
I think sometimes if we know too much at the beginning, you'd put yourself off anyway, wouldn't you? You know, if you knew exactly what was involved.
Yeah.
You're like, actually, I'll just go and stick with, teaching or that accountancy, actually. If you knew too much, there would definitely be a bit of a put off.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
And I think as well, there's too much like sharpening pencils goes on, isn't there? So, if you think you had to get all this perfect before you can even start, you never would.
Start.
No.
So,
Wow. Going in blind is best. Figuring it out along the way.
Very much. Yeah.
I think, there's no better time to start than today. And especially if you knew you always wanted a business in some sense as well.
Yeah.
You know, the excitement of that often takes you a certain way through, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or the delusion.
And I think as well, just being open to change.
Yeah.
So not being too rigid. So if I just stuck to that business plan, who knows where we'd be now. But just being open to go with the flow and take opportunities and seek them out and stuff like that.
That's where we go wrong, especially as women in business. Like we're just so concreted to the plan because we're so fearful of other people seeing, or we might fail, and it's not. Changing direction in business, letting go of some products, creating some new services. That's what business is. It's not about keeping the same thing over and over again. And it's about getting it wrong sometimes and learning and then going back and going, oh, this would be even better if, that's the best way, isn't it, to move forward. We've dropped things in the past for leading ladies, and it's took us a real struggle, didn't it, to let things go. And at the end of the day, if it's not serving you or if it's not bringing into the business, then you have to go. We wrote an email marketing campaign on Monday about it. And it was that, look at your business now, like really reflect on everything you've got going in your business. Is your energy going on something that isn't coming back to your business?
Yeah.
So are you putting your time into a product that you love, but that your audience actually don't want?
Yeah.
Or, you're putting all your energy there. Like, look at what's working for your business and really home in on that and then push that moving forward. But I think we are really scared to drop the ball sometimes and go,
and especially if it's kind of tried and tested and that's what everyone else is doing and things that, the pandemic was kind of interesting for me because I used to do all my training face to face. I used to literally drive around the country and go and spend a couple of days with the business and do training for their staff over a few days. And then obviously couldn't do that anymore. And it was weird because you'd always think, well, because I used to do 3-hour sessions and at the end of 3 hours you'd see people glazed over because it was too much. Showing them so many new things, they just couldn't cope. And you think, how would you do that on Zoom? But it was brilliant for me because I took that as an opportunity to break the training down into 1 hour chunks. So now, because I couldn't drive to, down south and do an hour's training session, it would just be pointless. Whereas you can do it on Zoom for an hour and it's not too long for people to get bored. They don't start glazing over. Well, some of them do.
And you can wear your pyjama bottoms if you want to.
Do you know, I never do. That's been since I started 16 years ago. I always had to be up and ready for the day by 9 o'clock. Just in case a client rang and said they had an emergency and I had to drop everything and go and see them. So that's always been my thing. I've always been ready for the day. Just in case.
No, I like that.
I've got clients who think I'm just sat drinking wine most of the time, but I'm not honest.
You're not. She's not.
And if you were, I wouldn't blame you.
I never drunk drive spreadsheets. No,
definitely not.
But I think like Claire was saying before about the gaps and things or, letting things go. Actually, spreadsheets can probably be really useful in that, can't they? Because if we've got the information there, then you can see what's actually working well, because often what we think in our head is working well, when we see it in black and white, it's something completely different. It's clouded things a lot of time in your head. But black and white.
Absolutely. And numbers and, I love sort of making out stories with numbers and with detail and stuff. So I'd look at, I don't know how many, if you're looking at social media and stuff, you can look at how many likes you got on certain posts and for certain events or for certain guests or for whatever it might be. And you'd start seeing patterns, and then that would help guide decisions you'd make and stuff like that. So
I feel like you're selling Excel. Like I hope you get commission in like any newly downloaded Excel packages or programs. Wow, that's amazing.
So if you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
I like to, with any clients I work with, I like to just do a great job for them. I like to deliver exactly what I promise. And I'm always, I get lots of clients and they're always very impressed and they always say, how did you know straight? Because we had like an hour consultation and they're like, how did you pick that up in an hour? And they're always really impressed that I got them. I got what they needed, but it's what I do all day, every day. So I am really good at it these days. I just find it really easy to do that. And I pride myself on delivering exactly what I say I was going to do and just helping to make people's lives easier and just make it a slicker process, just make it simpler for people.
Because you do spend so much time, don't you? Like sometimes you go around the world when it could have just been straight there. And it's about, I suppose, asking for that support and being a bit vulnerable, especially as a smaller business. And you are, the only person within that business who is doing everything, reaching out to you and saying, look, Tracy, this is my budget. This is what I've got a problem with. Can you help?
That's it.
That takes a lot of courage as well, doesn't it? To say like, can
especially
you help?
when you put on your CV that you're really good at Excel. People are then scared to go in, in the reviews and go and tell the boss, oh, actually, I'm struggling a bit with Excel. And the problem with Excel is that we don't know what we don't know. No. So, you might be great where you work and you use Excel all the time. You might use it every day, but you might go to a different company and they use it completely different. You might use formulas or, processes that you've never seen before. And that doesn't mean that you're any worse at Excel. It just means you've never had the opportunity of seeing it that way. So it's just about being open to asking what you don't know.
I love that. And we're forever learning, aren't we? Like every day in business, there's a lesson, whether that be a good one or whether that be a more challenging one that takes us back a little bit and makes us want to give up. You're always being tested, and I do feel like reaching out, especially to yourself around things.
But Microsoft as well, they're rolling out new formulas and changes all the time. Even yesterday I posted on LinkedIn, oh, look at this, because I got excited because something new had happened. I'm like, oh, and a lot of the experts, they hadn't seen that as well. And, so Microsoft do things, often, you'll know it's coming. Sometimes you won't. And there's those changes that happen that even if someone is really good at Excel, they didn't know that was coming either.
Yeah.
And it's about understanding what are the changes, what's new, what's happening.
Yeah, and how all those systems can talk to each other to make your life actually as a business owner much easier. You know, like you're saying before about the bridal shop and just being able to click a button and it be there, and that then making things really easily understandable. Sometimes it's just a hand-holding process through something, isn't it?
Yeah. And quite often for me, when I go and see a client, it'll be a case of they understand their business and they understand their organisation and what their data is and what they need to do. I haven't a clue. What I'm really good at is the Excel part. And then between the two of us, we have that collaboration and they give me their knowledge on the business and the data and what they need it to do. And then I make Excel do what they need it to do. So that's how it kind of comes out in the end.
Yeah.
Magic.
And do businesses just work with you as like a one-off, or do you do like a subscription as well? Like, can you do like going back in and, you know, go in and then come out and then go back in?
A bit of both. So quite often we'll start off with a project. So I'll give them a one-off price for an overall project, which will include training and documentation and potentially some ongoing support. But then businesses can sort of just have ongoing support. So as and when they're stuck, they just ring me, or we jump on a Zoom call, or we, you know, do whatever we need. And often that time will be used for any further development. If they go, oh, this is great now, but can we just, we just, that's the big one they always say, can we just? And quite often, no, we can't just. It's a bigger thing you need. But I can work with them to, you know, deliver what they need. And a lot of the time they'll ask for something, I'll be like, what do you need that for? And when they actually think about it, they're like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to use that for anything. Forget it. So it's great. It's like a sounding board and things as well. And, you know,
So I'm really interested in the hearing who your answer will be for the next question of who you would spill the tea with and why.
Well, weirdly, I've been thinking about this and I was trying to think of somebody, you know, really inspirational, because I've listened to a few of the recordings, and I know some people have said that, you know, comedians or singers or, you know, inspirational
people. We've had a whole range.
Yeah. And I thought, who do I really want to? And I thought, do you know who I feel most comfortable with and most at ease with, and who if I have any spare time I want to spend time with, it's all my friends. I've got some of the best friends in the whole wide world. I'm very, very lucky. But I put a lot of energy into friendships because they're so important. So I would want to spill the tea with my best girls, mainly girls, some boys. But they will help me feel loved, they help me feel supported and encouraged. And it was most of them who encouraged me to start the business way back when. Yeah.
That's gorgeous.
In fact, I think one threatened me that if I didn't, she'd never speak to me again.
Oh, really?
Pushy friend.
I can imagine the Excel spreadsheet of friendships on like creating a one. Who encourages me? Who doesn't? Who makes the best tea?
We do bar charts.
Who brings who brings the cake? Well, you haven't brought the cake or you brought the cake 7 times last year, so you can.
Exactly the case.
I love that. That's amazing. That is incredible.
And there is nothing better than friendship. You're right.
Yeah, there isn't.
You do need a lot of investment and time and energy, but if you can put your time and energy into them, they're the best, most rewarding things.
Especially, I think, working by myself as well, because I spend all day, every day by myself. Well, the dog's there, he's fine. So sometimes you just need to break up the day by seeing friends of an evening. And, you know, so some of my friends have got their own businesses, some don't. There's a complete mix, and it's great just to have their support and bounce ideas off them and stuff like that.
And it's about not holding any guilt for going to meet your friends. Like, we don't meet friends as much as what we'd like to. We don't meet each other as much as we'd like to, but we've made a really conscious effort, haven't we, to have like some teas together. And not to feel guilty about, you know, we've snuck off to some spa days together and not feeling guilty about that, because you've got to live. Like, what's a business if you're not living, you know, and seeing the people you love the most? And that's another thing.
It's what boosts your confidence and your, you know, makes you feel good. And if you feel good, then you perform well. You know, so it's good all around. So
Fill your cup.
Absolutely.
Fill your cup.
Yeah. So while you were spilling the tea with all of your friends, if you were going to be the one to make the tea, how would you make it?
Well, I have a confession to make in that I don't actually drink tea.
No, I did make you a coffee earlier.
So I'm a coffee girl, and I even have that black. So literally I just put coffee in and some water. So making coffee, dead easy. So making tea, I'm not good at it because I don't know what it tastes like. So I don't know how much milk to put in and stuff like that. So I always, before I make tea, tell people I'm not very good at tea. And amazingly, they all say, "Oh, this is really nice."
Yeah.
So maybe it's that proviso that I give them on. It's going to be awful. Their expectations are down
really
here,
low.
So, yeah, but I put the milk in before the bag comes out.
Of course you do. But you can make a cup of tea. So first of all, as a counsellor, I'm going to say to you right now, let's change that language, because you can make a cup of tea. Okay,
just not the right way.
You make cups of tea for your friends, and you can make a cup of tea, and you make it the right way. So
and apparently it's all right. So
it's of course it is,
everyone's a winner.
because you've made it the right way.
Yeah, you've chosen your own personal tribe who all think that your way is the right way, and that's fine.
Good.
I love that. We need a spreadsheet on guests now, don't we?
I was going to say we need to do a little bar chart.
Yeah, I'm
or a
definitely
pie
winning.
chart
I'm the
or-
winner.
Yeah.
You know what? I am actually going to say I think you might actually be in the lead right now.
I think
But
so.
me and Tracy will sit down with my
Work it all
perfect
out.
cup of tea and a cup of coffee.
I'm going to send you a
we'll,
spreadsheet to fill in. You can put the guest name, the date they came in, and which way.
And we can automate
And
it.
it will automatically go into a chart. I'm going to send you that.
I'm a bit scared.
I can't wait. That'll be your job, because I always mess up the spreadsheets.
I love that. Well, Tracy, you've been such an amazing guest, and I cannot wait to do that spreadsheet with you, or the chart with you. And thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. I know this episode will really, really help so many women in business go, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
Or I can ask for support. It's okay.
Absolutely.
Other people are going through that as well. It's not just me.
Sure.
So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thanks.
Lovely.